within a few weeks, we jumped from 0 followers to 100,000 followers on TikTok. We just kind of kept scaling from there really quickly. And it was millions of eyeballs on us. Like our story went into 50 global news outlets. It was millions and millions of people.
Hey, Kat, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course, and as I was mentioning now before we get started, that I love your energy. I saw some interviews that you gave and everything, and I was like so pumped because, but also the guest is pumped. I'm pumped as well. So that's amazing to have this this energy. And many people already might know you, right? You have almost 1 million right on TikTok, almost 1 million on Instagram, and so people already know you. But if you wanted just to tell a bit more about yourself, usually we use this thing called MAP. And basically it's like, the mission, the achievements, and the purpose. So it's basically like, what do you aim to achieve with what you do? Any achievements, so anything that personally or professionally you're very proud of, any notable milestones. And the last one is the purpose. So why do you do what you do?
I love that. So my name is Kat Norton, founder of Miss Excel. And here at Miss Excel, really our main mission is to save people hours in their week by making Microsoft Excel fun and easy to learn. So we infuse everything we do with tons of fun and creativity to keep our users engaged. And we do that through courses and live trainings at companies.
Amazing. And what are you really proud of? Is there any milestone in the past years that you're like, yes, like I killed that in that moment or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say the first two things that come to mind is one, we scaled to a multi-7-figure business within 2 years. And then the other part is I got to retire my mom a couple years into the business, which was hands down the most important thing to me and something that I'm really, really proud of.
That's amazing. It's a big one. Yeah. It's a big one, right? Because, of course, professionally and everything, but when you're able to help, family and friends, that is even more, rewarding sometimes than just, let's go a bit more about, where are you right now? You have a team now helping you out, right? Is that correct? And so tell me a bit also, how was the journey there, right? From going, from solo, doing, videos online to having now a team that help you out. And also, how are the dynamics these days when you have people helping you?
Great question. So here we now have a team of 17, as well as 3 agencies that we work with. And it all started with just myself wearing every single hat in the business. And it worked until I would get to this stretchy point for each position where, we had enough revenue coming in. I'm like, okay, I'll pull this hat off and pull that hat off. And then I had a revelation just this past summer where I was like, whoa. I mean, at that point, we were only at about 7 employees. And I was like, I think I am the bottleneck right now to us scaling because I wasn't letting go of a couple of things still. And that is where I had the revelation to hire a social media manager to help take the content piece off of me solely. And then we just hired 5 sales reps to sell our corporate side of the business and really start scaling that. So it all just started coming into play. We hired other corporate trainers under me who I train that we can book out at companies too, because I was getting so booked up that, the trading time for money piece was getting to be too much for me there. And there were so many companies to work with. So that was really, a sticking point was this summer. I was like, okay, how can we scale this more quickly? And, what else can we pull off my plate and put people in that are even better at each of those different positions to really help it scale?
What are some of the things that you learn in this transition going from solo to a team? Because there are so many other content creators. You exactly said one thing, delegating is difficult. And so, but once you were able to do that, if you were able to talk to yourself a few years ago or to tell to other content creators to hire a team, what are the things that you learned the most that you were maybe either missing out or you didn't realize?
One, I was really surprised at how much better someone else could do that particular area of the business. Because naturally, as an entrepreneur, we're trying to do everything. We think, we need to know everything and do everything. But my team is absolute rock stars. They're all phenomenal. So that piece, and then also how much better of a CEO and the founder I could be if I'm not in the business at that level and I'm working more of on it instead of in it. So really that added brain space for me allowed me to be a much better leader because I wasn't bogged down in all the details of all the minutia anymore. And I was able to manage and lead a lot better. So that was something that really, opened my eyes, was one, at how much more productive we could be, how much better we can scale. And a pro tip when it comes to this, if you still feel I can't imagine someone else taking this off my plate, write really detailed SOPs. I wrote them as if like it was for a kindergartner, like every single little tiny detail. And then when you offload that to someone to take on that role, it makes it so easy for them because most of the time they never even need to ask me questions because I went so overboard on every little detail. Like click the big purple button, super, super clear. And that takes a lot off my plate too. And then it helps me trust in the process that I built that someone else could easily take that on.
It's a really good point when you say about like, go very like in detail, because whenever you do something and in your head, everything makes sense. And of course, it's common sense. You should click there and do that, But whenever you have to delegate to someone else, you want to be sure that everything it's there, right? So there are like, no questions. The person can go by themselves and everything. So I think it's a good one, especially for, content creators and business owners. We used to do everything ourselves sometimes. And then it's like, oh, I have to give it to someone. Let me just be sure that we're on the same page with everything, right? So that is something very important. And so in addition to the team, of course, helping you out, content creation and content is one of the most important things, right? To be out there, to be able to sell courses, to be able to do brand deals and so on. So now again, almost 2 million of followers, across different platforms and social media. How was the experience, first of all, in seeing these numbers going up and up? Did you, some people are anxious because of it, others are pumped. What has been your experience so far?
It has been a great time. So the growing of the audience happened really quickly for us. So within a few weeks, we jumped from 0 followers to 100,000 followers on TikTok. And we just kind of kept scaling from there really quickly. And what I would find is this really ties into the business growth too, along with the audience growth, is sometimes I would get to this point where it would get so big that my like nervous system would start glitching out a little bit. Like we went really viral in the media back in, I think it was the end of 2021 or 2022. And it was millions of eyeballs on us. Like our story went into 50 global news outlets. It was millions and millions of people. And things started happening to me. Like my eyes were twitchy. I was a little anxious. Like my nervous system was getting used to that level of energy being directed at me. So that's really whenever I get those moments, I know that it's my nervous system like stopping the business from growing because I feel that overwhelmed. So I won't like bring in more opportunities because our whole business has been inbound leads, like between all the press and all the corporate leads and things, it all just flows to us based on my energy. So I'll go in and just do a lot of work on myself to make sure that I'm ready for that next level. And then I calm down again, big things come through, I push that boundary again. And I'm constantly just like playing this game of getting my body and myself ready for that next level. Because you'd be surprised at like the little anxiousness or things that'll pop up when you start growing and growing at a scale.
What would be like a tip for anyone else that, again, it maybe is funding like themselves with a rapid growth? How would you help them to manage that?
I would really recommend finding some form of practice that works for you. So whether it's, meditation, like mindfulness, like nature walks, like doing something to allow yourself to tap into that right side of the brain, the side that's in the present, in the creative, in the now. For me, going in and having a practice and having essentially these toolkits that I know work really well for me when I get overwhelmed to bring myself back down is key. Because as an entrepreneur, things are always going to happen, right? Like, God, even yesterday, we had like just so much happening at once. And I accidentally had 2 cups of coffee instead of 1. And I was sitting there like, why am I so anxious? And in that moment, I was like, okay, like I have breath work for this. And I did a 2-minute breath work and I came out calm again and ready and level headed. So it's like really important to kind of figure yourself out and have tools that resonate with you and that work for you.
About content. So, that is something usually whenever I talk with content creators, they're like, when it comes to content, I'm still the person in charge of that. I think about ideas, I brainstorm maybe with the team, but at the end, I'm like the final thing of that. Tell me a bit more like, about your process there. You are very specific, right? It's all about Excel. So there are things like, very specific to functions and tasks and so on. What do you do there? Do you have like Google, again, sorry, not Google, but like an Excel file in that case with all the different items? Do you brainstorm with that? Like just for me to understand, how do you go from one idea to doing hundreds of content every year?
So I hired my best friend and brought her on with us. And it's as if I cloned myself. It was literally the best fit. And she just knows my voice. She knows the brand. She knows the company. And so she goes in and does the initial round of content ideas, plus I'll like send her, little things I think of in the meantime. And she'll map out scripts for me. and write them out. So if it's a talking video, I can just pop in, make those scripts. And then she now coordinates with our video editor to get the screen recordings done. 'Cause typically I have like a screen recording above my head. So our video is a little bit involved when it comes to editing. And we map out the process. We actually use Notion for that. So our editor was very familiar with Notion. So he had like built out a whole Notion like workflow for us. So we kind of just hopped into his system. So we go in there and we add in the different, content pieces, like the screen recording. We now have a spreadsheet specialist who does all our screen recording. So she takes on that. We have a graphic designer doing the reel covers. And then my friend writes the script. And then all the pieces go to the editor. He edits them. And then we use Metricool as a posting platform because we post on pretty much everything besides YouTube every day now.
Is your brand ready to amplify its reach? Well, the Influencer Marketing Factory is here for you. We are a global influencer marketing agency helping brands ignite their growth. From influencer identification to campaign strategy, handling legalities and agreements, to managing shipping and logistics, we got you all covered. We work with hundreds of brands across different verticals, from Fortune 500 companies to direct-to-consumer brands. And we don't just stop there. With detailed ROI analysis, we help brands like yours measure success, transforming impressions into conversions. You can find us at theinfluencermarketingfactory.com or just searching the Influencer Marketing Factory on Google. And on a video interview of, I think it was like last year now, you said also about webinars. Do you still do webinars? Is it something that yeah?
Yes.
So how does it work for you? Like, again, I saw something in that interview, but I wanted to see if anything changes since last year. Did you find any other things working when it comes to webinars?
Yeah, so we absolutely love webinars. They're like the bread and butter of our business. That's how we're able to do the 6-figure days that people like see in the media. Those are our webinar days. So essentially what I do is now I do about 7 or 8 in a week. And so I started stacking them because we got a ton of huge affiliate partners and we do a 50-50 split for our affiliate revenue share. So it's an awesome deal for them because we literally just hand them a link, they push it as much as they want, and we take care of everything else from hosting the event. Like they don't even have to come. We host the event, we run it, we do all the selling, the emails, the funnels, all that fun stuff. And people start hearing about this program. So next thing you know, we have like massive affiliate partners like Morning Brew, a couple of the huge Excel accounts now work with us. And then we have tons of smaller affiliates that push into our events. So typically I give the really big affiliates their own date and time slot. So we have 3 or 4 of those every round and then 3 of our own that our smaller affiliates push into. And then we run those every like 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm constantly just hosting all these fun live events. So webinars have definitely been huge for us. And we're always just kind of tinkering with the process. Platform-wise, we use Webinar Jam, but we only use it for the actual event. We pull all of the emails out into Flowdesk. We use Add Event for the calendar, add to calendar buttons. That's been super helpful. And yeah, that's a process we're always kind of tinkering with and growing.
And in terms of revenue stream, do you bring everyone to the courses? Is there any other, you don't do that many brand deals, do you? Like there is something there, but I think that the majority is the courses.
Yeah, so I don't really do any brand deals. I do some on occasion with Microsoft, like we'll partner on some things because it's so much brand alignment. But really, I tried in the beginning a couple of things and financially, it just did not make sense for me at all because when I make content, I put a lot of effort into it. And I was selling like supplements and like I loved them and they were great for me, but it was so just not aligned. So I spent like hours on this content. We made no money. And I was like, wait, my audience just really wants Excel courses or Microsoft Office or Google Sheets, like kids course, AI course, all that stuff.
And so, again, as we said, we are using all these different social media channels to bring to the course. We cover TikTok, we cover Instagram. You mentioned before LinkedIn. How is it going? Because in the past years, they're definitely the algorithm changed in favor for content creators, for entrepreneurs, for networkers. How do you use LinkedIn these days? Is it primarily for awareness? Is it like conversion based? It is to open up your network?
Yeah, we use it essentially the same as we do with all the other platforms. So we have usually the majority of it is just content and growing the audience. And then whenever we have an event, we like slide the promotions in there too. On LinkedIn, it's really nice. So I had met with LinkedIn a few years ago, right, when I was getting started. And they're like, yeah, you should post your content on LinkedIn. And I'm like, well, I'm dancing in a crop top to a left function. Is this LinkedIn material here? Like I at first was kind of like, I always viewed it as such a like buttoned up, like very professional platform, which obviously it is the most professional out of all of them. But they were like, no, go for it. We want this. We want content on here. So I was like, all right, like if I could post my normal content. And it was amazing how well it's been able to do doing short form video on there. And then they do have that creator mode for LinkedIn. So I switched to that so that people were prompted to follow the account. There's like a few tweaks you can make so that people follow you. So you're not just getting tons of like ad requests and stuff. And yeah, we've seen it do really, really well.
It's amazing. Like, to be honest, I'm finding so many content, and exactly you said, they're not like serious just anymore. You can find different tone of voices, people that are able, as you do, to inform and educate, but in an engaging and not, I would say, funny way, but in a way that is not, again, the typical B2B boring way that people expect something more, right? And so this is like it was the past. We talk about that, the journey, the present. What is your future in terms of both content creators and entrepreneur? Like, have you thought to open up new businesses, to upsell on other things, cross sell on different things? Like, I'm really interested because I've been talking with many content creators these days. They have their main thing, right? And then they experiment. Some of them they start, collaborating with other influencers, content creators. Some others open another business. What do you have in mind for the future?
Yeah, so we have a couple different areas. On the Miss Excel side, we are really looking to scale to an 8-figure business this year. So we have been tinkering with different things. From our affiliate program has been really blowing up for our free training. So our affiliates just post that free training link. That's been growing a lot. And then we just onboarded this new sales team of 5 people to be able to bring in more of our corporate leads, because companies bring me in to do live events too. So on the Miss Excel side, we just recently, in the last few weeks, and we added in ManyChat. So between the 3 of those, we saw like a massive lift in our revenue this past month trying all those things. So we're getting to that scaling point. So that's been really exciting. And then since we hired this team, it freed up a lot of my time. And I've been doing a lot of thinking on like what's next for me personally and how can I serve people in a different way. And I've been on a ton of podcasts in the last few years, and so many people, when they hear the story of how I grew my business and how I utilize all different more of like energetic principles in order to really level up my productivity and optimize my life, that is when people are like, whoa, like this is so helpful. Why don't you talk about this? And I had this revelation a few months ago where I'm like, wow, I was getting all these like keynote and speaking opportunities at companies to talk about mindset, to talk about productivity hacks, things outside of the Excel space, because of some employee heard me on a podcast and pitched it to their boss. And I was like, whoa, imagine what would open up if I actually had an account for this. And I actually helped people with this and talked about it, not the people that like happened to find me on a podcast. So we are in the development of Miss Optimize. Miss Optimize is the sister company now of Miss Excel, coming out in the next few weeks here. And that is where I'm going to be posting mindset hacks, productivity hacks, really all the stuff that I love and I study and things that I use to grow my business and to just really accelerate my life and to be happy every day. And yeah, before all of this, I had a ton of anxiety and hated having any attention on me before starting Miss Excel, which most people don't believe looking at me now. But this whole business and my whole trajectory was a result of me implementing certain principles and working on myself. And those are things I want to share with people, because I feel like so many people are just like standing on the edge of what they want to create and just not taking that next step. And nothing lights me up more than helping people in different ways. So that is my next venture. No business plan behind it. I'm just going to be making tons of free content at the moment. We'll see if it turns into something. But for now, I just want to get this stuff out there. So that is next plans, next few weeks.
Amazing. That's why I was curious, like, if you would have used the Miss Excel, but you said now it's going to be Miss Optimization, right?
Miss Optimize, yeah.
Miss Optimize, right? So that is interesting. I'm gonna definitely click on the follow button as soon as it's out.
I'm excited.
And I have a last question for you. So in general, influencer marketing changed a lot in the past years. The creator economy is growing. There is, on the one hand, a lot of confusion. On the other hand, there is like a lot of excitement. What do you think, since you are both a content creator and also a businesswoman, what is missing in the creator economy right now? Or maybe not missing, but what are some of the things that you would like to see either change for the best or something that, again, you would like to tweak in order to make it a even better environment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like something I see is a lot of creators are just not monetizing as well as they'd like to. Mm-hmm. And that's something where I've seen people grow the most incredible audiences. They have so much content to give, and then they're kind of like stuck in the business department where they're like occasionally doing like a brand deal, but they're like, it's not enough to quit my day job. I have a ton of friends who are just like at this stage. And, that's something where I'm excited, to see how that develops, because I really just want people out there doing what they love full time, like if that's what they want to do. So that's something that really inspires me for the future. And like, how can I play a role in helping to get people to that spot, with Misoptimize and everything we're building there. So that's something, it gets me excited about the future.
Absolutely. No, I do agree. There is still a lot of, content creators that some of them they understood the formula, right? Some others are still, with the hand, in the sand and really like only grinding every day, but without really understanding like their value. Just the other day at this panel, they were saying, and many content creators, they don't value themselves as they should. So they go out there to market and they either go on a cheap prices for brand deals, or they don't really want to sell courses, or if they do with a big discount because they're afraid of things. And then they will say like, no, you have a value, you're giving value, you have an audience, so like just you can definitely do more. And I can see that we're all learning still, like brands, content creators and everything. So it's quite at the beginning of things. Kat, I'm amazed by everything that you created, and I want to give you best of luck and good vibes for the new adventure also, and for sharing these all this with us today.
Thank you so much. This was such a blast.
This was the Influence Factor by the Influence Marketing Factory, and I'll see you next week.